very welcome to the Improv Summit. I am your host, Spencer, and with me today I've got Frederic. How are you doing today?
Fine, and you?
I'm doing well. I guess that's actually more like good evening, I guess I should say.
Yeah, well, it's
Nighttime.
9:20 here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say I should
yeah.
say in my you speak other languages. I don't quite speak other languages, but I'm just saying that for the viewers because you might hear some French come out, which is exciting. But I guess from
Absolument.
yeah, I don't even know what you just said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. I was gonna say in my I'm Greek, so I guess I would actually say kalinikta, which is good
Ah,
night in Greek. Or good evening, kalispera. So I guess I would say kalispera to you. Anyway, let's jump in. We're here to talk about improv, not about me being Greek or you knowing French, but fun facts for everyone. Anyway, that being said, tell me a little bit about your improv background. It can be very detailed or it can be a very broad general scope.
um, mm, where to start? Well, in Quebec, there's the improv match that was invented in 1977, and it went on TV in the 80s. So when I was about 7 years old, I watched improv on TV, and I said, I want to do that. And 12 around 12 years old, I started playing at school,
Hmm.
and everybody in Quebec started playing because it was on TV, and everybody, it was based on hockey, like theater and hockey. So usually when you watch hockey, then you go play with your friends in the backyard. So it was kind of the same thing. Everybody started playing at school, so I started at 12 years old and played all high school and then college, university, and then I went all kinds of leagues and shows, and then I went with the pros, and I in between I studied in drama. I don't know if you say j'ai étudié en théâtre and
Yeah.
in theater.
Yeah, drama, yeah,
Uh,
theater, yeah, like
yeah,
dramatic
and I
acting,
worked.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked as an actor on TV. I hosted a kids show for 6 years on the national public television here, and in 2011 I started my own company called Les Productions de l'Instable, Unstable Production, and that's it. I'm still playing the match with the company who invented it. I've joined them in 2005, and so I played the match with them. But with my company, I have this motto: what haven't we done yet that we would like to try?
Mm.
So we tried so much things, like just going to. We're in Montreal, but improv in French and improv in English, it's kind of different and they don't really mix. And well, we went to New York to play, and then I went to Providence Improv Fest just to reach out a little bit. And we started playing a show called Mass, where we play at 25 or more on stage. And we played it last year. We were 40, not last summer, but the summer before, we were 47 on stage. So we like to explore, expand, and try new things. That's kind of
Yeah,
what I'm doing and where I came from.
great. I love it. I love it. I think it's awesome. Can you say the name of that production company one more time?
Les productions
Oh, projection.
de, de l'instable,
The Ling Stable. I like the
of
L.
the unstable. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Unstable Productions. Okay.
Yeah, unstable
Flip
productions.
it. It's
Yeah.
you put the noun first and then the
Well,
description after.
it's how it's supposed to be in French.
Yeah, like oh, what is the this is a really random thing, but like the Ratatouille ride in France, like Remy's, it's I'm gonna pull it up and I'm gonna butcher it, but I've got to figure out what this is now. It's called well, it's called Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, but it's got a French name. I'm gonna hold on. I gotta put Disney Paris. Sorry, this is a side note, but I want to know. I kind of want to hear you say it. Oh, it's
L'aventure de Ratatouille.
oh no, it's Remy's totally zany adventure. So it's L'aventure totalement toc de Remy. Here I'll put it in the chat so you can take a look at it because it's probably easy. You probably can.
Totalement. Let me wait.
So
Just l'aventure totalement toquée de Rémi. Oh, that's French from France.
yeah, it's in Disneyland Paris. That's why.
Yeah. Well, we don't use toqué. It's kind of a Frenchy word. It's
Okay.
we it's like British English and American English. So you have French and European French, and then you have Quebec French, where we don't.
Ah,
It's the same language, but we don't use all the same words.
that makes sense. It's like I mean, it is like American English and British English, where it's same words but used differently, and some of them
Yeah.
are spelled differently too. So, sorry, this was a big side note, but I just thought it was fascinating because you just like rolled it off, and I don't think I've ever talked to anyone who like could just like speak French fluently.
Well,
Um,
it's I was raised in French.
yeah. Oh,
So
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a
I
reason
speak to
why.
my kids in French. So
There you go. So they're probably going to be fluent, or they are already.
well, they don't speak English.
Oh, okay. I see. Great. Yeah. So anyway, let's
They
get back to
will. They
improv.
will.
Yeah. Yeah. Eventually. Yeah. You got
Yeah.
to do one thing at a
Yeah.
time. I wish my mom had taught me Greek before I learned English, but she learned Greek before she learned English. But what can you do? I still don't know Greek. Oh well. Let's get back to improv because that's what we're here
Yeah.
for.
Sure.
It was such a side note. I'm also a huge theme park nerd. So anyway, um, as far as I don't know, as far as this is, it feels like it's 1 o'clock for me in the morning, and it's only like 6 o'clock. So I don't know. So as far as improv, like what drew you to improv? Like what made you like want to try it, or what made you continue to try it once you did try it?
Well, at the beginning, it's seeing people doing stuff on top of their head and like just go with it and try to be interesting
Mm,
because I was 7 years old. So, and then the match uh, here in Quebec is it's competitive based improv. So it's like I said, it's based on a hockey. So you want to win points and you want to have the first star of the match, and that's what kept me in the first years. Like I wanted to be. It was my sport. I loved it like a sport. And then as I went on, I realized that it was only the uh, a format
mm,
because we were doing a show. So win or lose, you want to do the best show with your partners, even though they're in the other team. Or so as I went on, I it transformed into just trying to do the best shows, try to be the best, then trying to be the best with others, and just now it's just trying to to push the limits of what we can do and how we will do it.
mm.
But
Yeah, I love
it
it.
yeah.
It's the idea of taking something and knowing that you can challenge yourself without failing. But even they say like to go to fail big in improv. Even if you fail, it's not necessarily a wrong choice. It's just a choice that didn't work for that specific moment. But I think that makes sense to keep going because it is this thing where you don't know what you're going to do until you do it. So
Mm,
you push yourself to challenge yourself because of the fact that you can't like it's not like memorizing lines or repeating choreography over and over. You have the tools and the tricks to learn how to do improv. But what is great and what you said like about challenging yourself and kind of keep the levels going, one thing that drew me to improv and kept me going is the fact that I can challenge myself because I don't know what's going to happen next, like at
mhm.
all, which I think is fun.
Well, I've learned with time that the more I risk, the less I fail.
Mm,
Yeah, fail.
yeah.
So and now we're with the company we're putting on a show in theater well how do you say it? I'll say it in French. I don't even know it in French. Un théâtre établi, an established theater where they
Ah,
show all kinds of plays. Well, we are presenting a play of improv
mm,
based on exploration on scenography. Yeah.
okay,
So the scenography changes each night, and we try and we see what it provokes uh, in our interactions between actors and everything. So uh, that's wasn't that's the kind of thing that isn't done here. And
yeah.
I don't know. Usually, improv is more on the stand-up side of shows,
Hmm.
and more in a little space with a little black box with two chairs, and now we want to make it a production.
Sure, that's awesome. That's awesome. There's a lot of like narrative places that do improvised plays, different styles.
Hmm.
A lot of a lot of American authors, but American playwrights. But I mean, famous ones. I mean, Tennessee Williams. Shakespeare is not American, but everyone knows
Yeah.
Shakespeare. But big. I mean, Jane Austen. Like she's not American either. Anyways, I said American playwrights, and most of them I mentioned were not American. But whatever. Most of them actually were not American, but those are the ones that I thought of off the top of my head. But I guess playwrights or authors,
Hmm.
poets in general. So people take those styles and they kind of break it down. It feels like that's kind of the same thing. The energy of the room, the way in which the group comes together, and based on different elements, you kind of can tell that story in a way that can be improvised or has a little bit more structure to it. There's a little bit more flexibility. It feels like.
Yeah, it's done also in French. I know that I know people in France that does they do Feydeau and Chekhov and all kinds of
Mm,
authors. There's the National Improv League, which with the company who invented the match, they are exploring authors also, and movie directors
mm.
and all
Yeah,
kinds
that's
of
great.
stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love me a good Hitchcock movie, so I want to see some Hitchcock improv. That's what I want to see. Get all of that in there.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, with improv, since improv is so broad, there's so much improv that exists. Do you have any favorite types of improv, whether it's short form, long form, genre, narrative, whatever? Do you have any favorite kinds of short form? And are there any improv games or warm ups that you like to play to either get you in the mood for a show or anything like that?
Oh man, the kinds of format, because we don't have the same vocabulary.
Mm,
I often say that we're like the Galapagos Islands. We're
ah,
also turtles, but different turtles.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
When
yeah,
you
yeah.
say long form, you, usually you talk about 25 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a set, like I don't know if you guys do heralds or not, like heralds or
No,
like
not
JTS
well.
Brown, but like
English improv in Montreal does a Herald, but not that much. But in French,
yeah.
almost nobody. And we usually do shows from that goes from an hour to 2 hours. So
Mm,
a match usually is three sets of 30 minutes, or two sets or 45 minutes,
I see.
but with two teams. And but
So do you so when you do those the improv matches, is it like games that you're playing, or is it like each group does 30 minutes of like a
no,
montage?
no, it's there's a referee who goes to the barillet, I don't know, the tumbling thing, and he picks a title and says
Oh, you talking about like the
uh,
thing where you like pick like bingo numbers?
a little bit,
Kind
yeah.
of, I don't even know what that's called.
It picks up a piece of paper and says either comparative or mixed improv. So it's if it's comparative, it's one team after another, and if it's mixed, it's the both teams
Like a
together.
head to head, kind of like a battle.
Yeah, well, you have to do the same story.
So yeah. So it's like head to head.
Yeah, yeah, it's always head to head, but one at a time or both in the
I
same
see.
story.
It's very
Or
much like how comedy sports is set up, which is
yeah, well, it was invented in the same year. The comedy sports with
ah
John Stone in Calgary, I think,
yeah.
and the match in Montreal. And but it's quite different because the referee then he says a title and then how much time the duration, so it can be from 30 seconds to 20 minutes,
Mm.
and then it
Well,
sometimes
how is
yeah.
the time determined? Is that the ref that chooses the time, or is it a
No,
predetermined?
those those are
Oh, on the slips.
all written on the slips, yeah.
Got it.
And
Okay.
then it goes unlimited, so anybody can play, or two players from the blue team, two players from the, or you can say one man, one woman, or four of them, one of them, doesn't matter. And sometimes there's a category, it can be sing or wordless or in the style of an author or
Mm.
anything. So usually we have around 12 improv per matches.
Oh wow.
Um, so it's like a hockey match. Yeah, in between. How do you call them in English? The
Goals,
les
touchdowns. Oh,
periods.
like a period, or like intermission,
Yeah,
halftime.
yeah. We have three periods of improv and intermissions, and then there's the three stars of the nights, and
I guess
who.
like sets. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, this is usually about an hour and a half or 2 hours. And the shows that I do with my company usually go around an hour and a half, an hour, 75 minutes. And so when you say was a long way to, when you say long form, I know that you're talking about like Harold's,
Yeah.
25 minutes Harold's.
Or like
But
an
for
hour.
us,
Some are like, some they have like
yeah.
the whole hour long time slot.
Okay.
But I guess it's like there's a lot of different types, but generally I guess in the American sense, long form is like Harold's and JTS Brown's, and short form is like games, like something like
Yeah.
comedy sports or whatever.
Hmm.
That's like generally short form is just like quick games, but like a long
Hmm.
form is more scenic, based,
Okay.
for like a
Well,
25 minutes on one suggestion.
okay. So if I go back to your initial question,
But
is
I love
what
this improv
kind?
match stuff. I love this.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Harold for us. We've played it so much that I'm kind of, I'm not tired of playing it, but I'm tired of people thinking that it's the only thing that we can play here, and
Mm-hmm.
it's almost the only thing that it's played here. So we're starting to reach out, but and explore, but it's really and usually when people say, "Oh, I've got a new format," it's like the match, but and then you say, "Well, it's kind of like the match what you're proposing, so we can go further."
Mm-hmm.
But what if I take your definition? I would say I like kind of free form, like
Mm-hmm.
it you don't know if you have little scenes, big scenes. It's not game based, but uh like you have the freedom to say this scene will last 30 seconds and it will not connect to any other scene, and that's all right. Or we can do a show with only one scene and it will be wonderful. And so you just go with what's there in front of you. And usually I but usually my shows are cut into scenes or tableau. Do you say tableau?
Yeah, yeah. We do scene painting, but they always say make a tableau. So yeah, we know tableau.
Well, in
we say
theater,
we say tableau. We don't say tableau. However you said it was great.
tableau, tableau,
Tableau. We
but
say tableau.
tableau, tableau. Uh,
Tableau.
It's like there's a W at the end of it, tableau.
Yeah,
But
it's the Southern way.
but in theater you can have a play with made out of tableau. That's the
Mm,
kind of improv I like. Well, you have the opportunity to go back if you want to, or just go forward, and yeah,
yeah, that's great.
feed off your partners.
Yeah, I think one thing that a lot of people, it's like it's interesting because here there's a lot of it's like what do we want to do? Do we want to do a Herald? Do we want to do this? And some people are like, let's just figure it out. Let's just have fun. And I think sometimes we forget that there is structure to improv, but you can also just like not have structure. You can just do whatever you want. So I think the idea of free form isn't brought up a lot, and I like that because it's like maybe we start out doing a couple games and then maybe all of a sudden we start doing a Herald, but then maybe we switch over to doing this, like whatever. It's improv. Like people are impressed no matter what you do.
Well, usually I have I like when the structure is clear. Like we have a show called Dompteur. It's basically is tamer, like lion tamer,
Hmm. Oh,
where
okay.
I direct other actors while they play. I'm standing right behind them and saying things to their ears, and sometimes saying I'm saying them out loud, or sometimes I'm just whispering it. But I'm really like a puppet master, and so this is I know that when the show starts, I'm gonna make them run around and do stuff just to show everybody that the dynamics, that when I say something, they do it. And then
Mm.
the people, without saying, "Hey, everybody," when I say something, they will do it. I don't like saying what it's gonna
You don't like
be, but
explaining it. Yeah.
I want to show it.
Yeah.
And then we after a while, when we did a lot of silly stuff, we go deep into more more, well, less shallow stuff, and then
Hmm.
we go in. It can be grotesque or absurd, but we tend to, once the public knows where they're going, and then we can concentrate on what we're doing. And
Yeah.
all of our shows are like that. Like in the first 2 minutes, you're gonna know what you're doing. We have a show called Zitto. It means in Italian basically shut up. It's a wordless show,
Oh, great.
so yeah, our show is and the presentation is on like on paper, on the like in Bob Dylan.
Like subtitles,
Well,
like
it's
silent movies.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Well, we're flipping paper, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
each scene starts with a title. We pick. We had titles written by the public before, and then we show it, and then we start, and nobody's talking. And even in the audience, we say, "Don't talk. You can laugh, but don't talk." And it's a great experience.
That's awesome. I've learned that I need to really get better at my object work, and so this sounds like it'd be a way for me to really dive into object work because I have to get what I want, the point I want across without saying anything. So I think that's something that a couple of people have mentioned this actually in the whole improv summit is this like idea of non-dialogue improv, and I don't think people do it because I've learned a lot of people want to talk in scenes. They just want to get right to the point. They don't want any silence. They don't want to wait around. They want to just like and I don't know if that's just like an American thing, but people want it's like, okay,
No,
your suggestion is this word. I'm gonna start talking as soon as I get the word. It's like give it a second, like figure out what's going on. You don't have to like dive in and say a word right away. And so it's like it's nice to hear like when I'm in classes or like teaching or whatever, and it's like let's try a scene where you don't talk. Let's just try it. Let's see what happens. And it really makes you think about other things other than words. And I've learned
hmm,
that I don't have the words as a barrier. I feel like I'm more free because I'm not having to like think about what I have to say. I'm like, I could just do this and I can do this and it doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's just funny. And I don't have to really justify it in that way. So it's I think wordless improv, non dialogue improv is wonderful.
And it helps when you start talking again, because like you know, uh, in the beginning of tele, TV show series,
Hmm.
like I don't know, Game of Thrones or something like that, or
Sure.
they, they will use phrases like, you know, the first time I saw your father, it was in the battle of blah 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 blah, and they always put too much setups in those first episodes,
A
and
lot
I
of
feel
exposition.
yeah, and I feel improv is a lot like that. And when people start talking too much, it's like they're giving it all away, and it's not natural. Like, you know, my sister, I really like it. Nobody calls your sister,
Hmm.
but in improv we do it, and it just doesn't feel natural. So
Sure.
uh, when you start playing with without words, and then when you come back to words, well, you don't need to say everything. You just assume that everybody will know and go along with it.
Mm, that's great. Um, moving on. Oh, one thing I was going to say is I'm really bad at segues changing into the next topic. So I just like call it out every time because I don't have any like thing clever to say most of the time. But going off of that, next
that's
question.
that's a perfect segue.
Great. I love it. We'll do it every time now. Um, segueing into the next question. Are there any moments, like whether you're taking a class, teaching a class, performing in a show, watching a show, whatever the case may be, like memorable moments, like because a lot of times improv you don't remember most of it because people are like, I love that scene that you did with the other person, and I was like, I did it 10 minutes ago and I don't even remember what you're talking about. But are there any of those moments that stand out to you where you're like, I remember this and it was so much fun doing this thing or this show or this moment or whatever?
Oh man. Yeah, well, you're right when you say we don't remember, but sometimes I remember like glimpses or
Sure.
a lot, or then it goes away or when we start talking about it, it comes back. It well, but a moment, there's so much.
Uh-huh. Even just one.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily do the whole life story of favorite moments, but and then it's an interesting thing because there are sometimes where I'm like, oh, this is so much fun, I'll never forget this moment, and then I try to explain it to someone and I just completely forget the moment, and then later I'll
Well,
remember it. So
um, one, it's not my favorite moment, but one moment that comes to mind is I was playing in improv mondial, well, where they invite people from Quebec and people from Switzerland and Belgium and France, and we were in
hmm.
Strasbourg,
Hmm. Yeah. I mean,
Strasbourg,
it depends on if you want to go with the American pronunciation or the actual pronunciation.
Strasbourgen, and
Yeah.
there was around 700 people in the crowd,
Oh wow.
and we were doing an improv, like how do you call those movies, old movies about the banner and the 10 commandments, and uh, big
Like epics.
big yeah, big production
Yeah.
of old timey movies, and I went in the middle of 700 people, and I just told them, start marching with me, and they start all stomping around, and we were we were all arriving as an army, like the Roman army. And
That's
then
awesome.
I stopped, and they all stopped, and I started uh, doing my speech as the general or something, and it was so big, so huge. It was incredible.
That's awesome. I'm just like I'm like trying to picture it, and I don't think I've ever seen that many people at an improv show before. So
Well, that's the beauty of it. In France, in Quebec, with the National Improv League, we play in front of around 300 or to 700. But usually when you start, it's around 20 or 100 people. That's around, depends on where you play. But in France, they don't play as often as we do.
Mm.
But when they play, they rent a coliseum, and they there's just so much people. When I go in France, it's like a we're rock stars. I went to play in Transborder in Lyon, Lyon, France, and there was like 900 people, and you are well, okay. I played in Montreal for there was a Just for Laugh festival, and we played outside, and I think that's my record. We played for in front of 7,000 people, and
Wow.
it was like you just say a joke, and then the laughter goes back, and then it comes back. Well, it's funny.
Hmm. That's awesome. I'm still like I can't get over this 700 people at an improv show. That to me is just like it's unheard of here. I mean, not necessarily, but I mean, we have a lot of smaller, even the bigger. I
Mm.
mean, they just don't have space for, especially in LA. We don't have space for a 700 seat theater. We we don't have that much space. We got a lot of traffic. That being said, speaking of traffic, I'm gonna just work my way into the next question here. I tried. I really tried to think of a joke, and I couldn't think of one. So here's a question that's not a joke. I guess that works. Um,
You're doing
are
great.
there
That's the best
Thank
one.
you. Thank you. I've learned I'm not the best at hosting things. I just kind of am like awkwardly like, all right, are there any but speaking of this, I guess in a way it kind of relates to this in a way because sometimes I'm not a great communicator and sometimes I'm a little shy around people. Believe it or not, I'm actually an introvert. My Myers-Briggs is I'm an introvert because I don't like talking to people if I don't have to. Um, but are there any elements of improv that you've noticed that you've been able to use in your daily life to enhance any qualities of life? Like for me, it helped me build my confidence. But is there anything that you've discovered along the way of improv that has helped you outside of improv and acting?
I guess I would say opening up to others, like just trying to read them and knowing what they're feeling, and just be empathic. Is it,
Empathetic, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
empathetic, yeah.
Uh, well, with my kids, we play a lot, and we say stories, we invent stories, and my youngest always want to do improv exercises. And well, I think it helps me with, yeah, with others. That's my
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. It's great. There's so much to that answer, but I think that one of the big things is just being able to connect with people in a
Mhm.
whole different way. I think as improvisers, one thing that people tend to forget is the idea of listening. And I think that improvisers become much more heightened listeners, which in turn overall makes them better listeners. But I think it's a certain type of listening that's different than like a someone who's like, I can listen. It's like, yeah, but can you listen and understand and empathize and respond non-verbally? Can you like
Yeah.
it's this whole different type, it's like a deeper sense of listening. So I think that there's a lot to unravel in that question. But on that note, as far as improvisers being good listeners, this actually worked. It actually segued very well. What do you feel makes a successful improviser? And success can mean whatever you want, whether it's someone finally took a class and they love taking it, or they're off on tour pre-pandemic doing an improv show. What to you makes a successful improviser?
Mm. Um, I would go with the same answer. Others, like
Mm,
you can have talent. You have to have confidence. To be confident and to play, but uh, you can go. well, with confidence and talent, you can go that far. But when other people wants to play with you, then you will go further. And I guess that's the best way to uh, measure success in improv.
Hmm, that's great. I love it. Um, a couple more questions. We're almost done. This is a general question. It has nothing to do with improv, but it can. Do you have any any plugs or any pitches, anything you want to share or promote that I could
Oh,
add to the video?
well, I guess it will be too late because I'm giving an online class in English on January Tuesdays from January 5th to the 26th.
Oh, maybe I can edit it together and put it before then.
Ah, yeah, sure. With improvcollege.ca. Do you know Vinny Francois? He's an English improviser from Montreal, and he built this online college for since the pandemic because his theater closed up, and
Mm,
it's,
mhm.
so I'll be playing no teaching on online classes both in French and English, and then I'm available when the pandemic is over. Just I want to go play everywhere.
Yeah, how's it going in Canada? How's the pandemic in Canada?
Well, we're Christmas is canceled. Well,
Well, America's been canceled for the last 10 months. So, I
yeah.
mean, because we can't just put our masks on and just do it for 2 weeks and just let everything go back to
Mm,
normal. But we gotta have our rights. We gotta keep our rights and not lose our rights, even though human
mm.
rights are very important. But that's a whole nother story for another day.
No, but it's kind of the same thing here. I think uh, there are all kinds of people, and it's not only in the U.S. It's all over the world. Maybe some countries have more or less of people who want to, I don't know, say no to
Mhm.
feel that they have the power to say no, and because sometimes when you fear something, saying no is taking control, but it's not really. But well,
Mhm.
but I think with the vaccine we'll get back soon, and
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, everyone's kind of shifted online too, and it makes you think about what should stay online and what should return to space. And I really hope we get some improv and comedy back in a real space soon. I
yeah,
I love doing I love doing it online, but I love it more in person. There's just nothing I miss more than like having this like friendship with people in person, or like having there's such a different feeling when you're on stage. There's a different energy when you're on stage with
mm.
people. Versus like on the screen where you're just like, uh-huh, uh-huh. Uh, yes, I'm enjoying this, but I also am just staring at a screen all day long.
Well, I think that they can coexist because
Hmm.
since the pandemic, I met so much people, Americans, improviser. I met all kind of people that I wouldn't have met in real life, but maybe someday I will meet you
Hmm.
for real. So there's a thing that doing online improv makes the borders like uh, they
But
shrink the
non-existent.
borders.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's still I think what it does is actually in that way it expands the community,
yeah,
because it just allows it to grow stronger and stronger. So it's more people are connecting and connecting and reconnecting, and I'm doing this with my hands as if this is doing anything, but I'm pointing to different dots on the globe. But you know, that's my object work is not great. I've admitted this multiple times on this whole summit. I'm not great with my object work. That's what I need is a class in just object work, just like 6 weeks of like no scenes, just object work. Tell me how to hold a toothbrush, which I've kind of figured out, sort of. You got to have like space to, but but still not great. That looks like I'm not using a toothbrush. Anyway, forget I said anything about object work. Let's move on to the last question I have for you,
Yeah.
which is the reason I kind of am doing this whole summit. And it's because pre-pandemic, but even now still people are like, Spencer, you take so much improv. Where should I take improv? And I always feel like it's a hard question to answer because there's a lot to digest with that question. So if someone came up to you and asked you that same question, where should I take improv? What's a tip or some advice that you'd give to them? And again, it doesn't have to be everything because again, that's a huge answer to unravel.
Yeah.
But what is something you would say to someone to help guide them on their journey for taking improv?
I well, first of all, I would say, hey, I've got classes. You want to come? But I think that uh, finding the answer to what are they looking for in improv is will help me help them.
Mm,
Like, are they going to? I don't know. They want to meet people, or they want to just try to be less shy, or they want to really push the limits, or start an acting career, or well, there's the option in New York. I want to be on SNL or whatever,
mm,
but something that we don't have here. Uh, so if they want to, well, I would say you have to, first of all, you have to have fun. So uh, find a class that you have fun in it, and if you don't have fun, just go elsewhere.
mm, mhm.
Um, and what would I say? I say try. Well, what do you respond?
Oh, what do I say?
Yeah.
My first answer is always, well, it depends. What do you want improv for? What is your goal with improv? A lot of times it's just actors who are like, I just need a class for improv on my resume. But it is it is really like, because I've done Second City, I've done IO, I've done comedy sports, I've done UCB, like the whole program, and then I've started taking classes at Improv Theater, and I'm like, improv's narrative. If you want narrative, go to narrative. If you want characters, go to Groundlings. If you want improv to sketch, go to Second City. If you want game, go to UCB. If you want relationship, go to IO. I can't suggest IO anymore because they're closed, but
Mm,
it's all these comedy sports. If you want short form, if you want family friendly, that's the place to go. So it just really depends, and I think that that's a biggest thing is for people to know, like, really what you want as far as your goal in improv and what school best centers and caters to that goal, and then take a class there. And if that class isn't working, then reevaluate whether it's the class, the teacher, your accessibility to improv and your access to improv, or um, if your goal in improv may be something different than what you anticipated prior. Generally, I can tell when I know that I love improv. So I know if I go to a class and I'm not liking improv, it's that class. It's not me. That's what I've learned. I've learned that pretty quickly, that it's not the type of improv for me. But that's,
mhm,
again, improv is so broad that it's hard for me to give that answer because I can't just say go here.
mhm.
It's tricky. That's I guess like what I would say in a nutshell.
Well, from the American point of view, I listen to a lot of American podcasts on improv and everything, and I would say that when I heard Mick Napier on Annoyance Theater,
Hmm.
I liked what he said.
Mm,
It resonated. So I would say try this theater. I
mm.
don't know. I never went to the theater,
Yeah.
but I would say as an American, I would say go outside of, if you can, go outside of the U.S. because there's and maybe outside of English-based improv,
Hmm.
English-speaking improv, because there's a lot of improv everywhere, and I find it so resourceful just looking at mm, my English neighbors. I see things that that are different for them, and I learn from the differences. So maybe that could be it.
Hmm.
But if you want to start improv, just start improv.
Just do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even if you can't afford a class, just get a couple people together on Zoom and just
yeah,
do some scenes, just do some reps, just make up stuff. Literally.
yeah.
Doesn't cost anything to start improv. Getting
Mm.
that guidance is always great, and maybe you save up for that down the line. But if you got it, if you got the money, if you got the time, great, do it. But if not, get some people together and just do it.
But it's hard to say because here, like I said, I started playing at 12 years old. So, and most of people, they, when you're in around your 20s, well, you've been playing for almost 8, 10 years. So
Mm,
it's kind of weird taking classes starting when you're an adult. Uh, it's well, there's more of them. There's more classes now, but when I was younger, we didn't have any classes.
mm.
We were just playing the match, and we had a coach who gave us tips, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've learned that, like, even with adults, one, it's harder for us as adults to pick up on something. Like, again, going back to the whole languages thing, is with my mom, had she like kind of forced me to go to Greek school or taught me Greek as a kid, I would be so fluent in it now. But I've been learning it. I've been doing it for almost a year, and I just don't remember it as much because you pick it up quicker as a kid and you remember it,
Mm.
but as an adult it makes it a lot harder. And I think with improv, one thing that it's harder for adults is to be like, I don't want to feel silly, I don't want to look silly, I don't want to be silly. But if you think back, and this is what's helped me a lot, and I've gotten these notes in classes, is when I teach kids improv, seeing that they just don't care about what they're saying, what they're doing at all. Like, it's such like this like childlike sense of wonder. And I think that if I think it like that as an adult, then I have so much more fun because I'm like, whatever. A 5-year-old would throw their arms up in the air and just be like, I'm a clown. Like, why can't I do that? Like, so I
Yeah,
think it's once I start to get out of my head on like, am I gonna feel weird? Is it gonna be weird? Then I can enjoy the idea of improv. And I think that's a big step too.
absolutely.
But yeah,
And if you learn Greek, you would go to the Mount Improv in Greece. No,
yeah,
there's a festival over there.
I would
You
love
should
to.
go. Yeah.
Eventually. I've been saying things to my mom, and it's funny because I'll say things to her in Greek, and I'll be like, "Oh, tono mamu ine Spencer," which is my name is Spencer, and my favorite response is she'll say one of two things. One is she'll either say, "What are you saying?" and I'll say what it is in English, and she's like, "That's not how I learned it. This is what it was," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Or she'll say, "You pronounce things very well." I'm like, thanks, mom. I'm trying. She goes, you got all the accents correct and everything. I'm like, well, I listen to the person talking and then I repeat it back so then I can learn it. But sometimes it gives me words where it's like one time it was like in the app that I'm using, Duolingo, it's like the bear ate the beer. And I'm like, when am I
Yeah,
ever gonna say this? When am I ever gonna say this?
the butterflies are red.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So
okay.
yeah, it's like I arcuda pini ibira, and it's like, okay, but when am I ever gonna say the bear drank the beer? Like, I'm
Yeah,
never gonna say that except
yeah.
on
Well,
the Duolingo.
my father is Italian from and came to Montreal when he was young, and I never learned Italian, but I played last year in Italy Italian. Like I
Mm,
speak like a 2-year-old, but it was it was harder than playing a wordless show because
mm-hmm,
you want to say things, but it comes out like I am a serpent.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that's sono uno serpente, and then
Yeah,
that's the only stuff that comes
I'm
out.
so glad. I'm so glad you brought this up because I lied when I said that was the last question because I also warned you about this. I said I wanted to see if you wanted to do some improv. And what I'm thinking, and what I thinking now is what I find actually would be interesting is if we did a scene where I only spoke in English and you only spoke in French, and I don't know
Okay.
French, so I want to see where that scene would take, if you're willing to do it. I want to see where that would take us if because you know English and French, but I don't know French. So if we just do a
Okay.
whole scene where everything you say is in French and then I'm just listening and responding to what I think you may have said very clearly as someone who doesn't know French.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay, great. And I'll get us a suggestion. I think what I kind of a goal that I have with this is to see, like, even when there's different languages, or if you're not quite understanding something in a scene, you can still make it work and you can still make it funny, and you can still make a scene happen. So I'll let you pick. Do you want a location, a relationship, or a word?
Whatever. I would say a relationship.
Great. Um, okay. It's a bride and a groom. Um, Veronique, I just wanted to say, I think you look beautiful.
Merci. Merci. Ben, je pensais pas qu'on était supposé de se voir. Ça porte malheur.
Oh, no, 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 you don't need to lose any weight. I think you look absolutely beautiful. You don't need to get any thinner at all.
C'est pas ça que j'ai dit. OK. Mon père s'en vient. Faudrait pas qu'il nous voit ensemble juste avant.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Go get freshened up. I'm not even supposed to be seeing you right now before.
Ben, c'est ça que je disais.
I love you too.
Oui.
Yes, we, both of us, yes.
Non, non. J'ai quelque chose à t'annoncer. J'ai couché avec ton frère.
Oh, Veronique, I'm sorry. I wanted everything to be
Non, non, c'est moi
perfect.
qui c'est moi qui est désolé. Ça va?
Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, I'll leave you. Be. I'll let you have some time.
Non, mais réagis un peu, là. Je viens de te dire que j'ai couché avec ton frère.
Yeah, I know you got to get dressed. You got to get dressed. That's fine.
Non, non,
I'll go.
oublie la robe. J'ai couché avec ton frère.
Oh, you want me to be here while you? Okay, well, it's a little frisky, I guess, but yeah, I'll hang out.
Ça fonctionne pas.
Oh, I don't know what example you want. I don't know what example you want me to give you of my love for you. I love you so much.
Ouais, mais t'es prêt à oublier?
Yeah, forever. I will love you forever with all of my heart.
Oh mon Dieu. OK. OK, je vais aller m'habiller.
Okay.
OK.
I'll see you. I'll see you out there. And scene. I had no idea what you were saying at all, which I think you knew. I didn't know.
I said that I slept with your brother.
Oh, great. This was actually real fun because I had no idea, which I think is great. I think you knew that I had no idea, which actually
Yeah.
really helped too. What a way to, like, express your deepest dark secrets without knowing that the other person's not going to know at all what you're saying. Thanks everyone so much for coming. That was super fun. I'm Spencer. That's Frederic. Take care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.